I asked about the time when the government first informed SPH that it was prepared to extend grants to support its media business, and I also asked about the size of that grant. I would be surprised if the government hadn't considered what would be the extent of the grant that it would extend to the CLG. So can the minister share with us if there's any ballpark figure as to what is the amount of taxpayer dollar that will be going to the CLG? Minister made a point about the standards of journalism. It's not a simple issue to address in the course of a ministerial statement, but my generation at least remember this headline, this cover page in the new paper, which was in 1997, at a very sensitive time just during the elections, and it was a checklist to help you decide how to vote. Minister spoke earlier about objectivity and balance. The only thing objective about this cover page is the EPL scores, no win for Liverpool and also for Manchester United. The checklist essentially told the voters what you're voting for. If you vote for the PAP, you're voting for upgrading EduSafe and MPs of acceptable character. But I would agree with the minister to the extent that one has to be fair to the journalists because they are good journalists. And a good example is on the 1st of May this year, the Chinese media group head of Chaopao, Li Huiling, she asked some very serious questions about the leadership transition to the 4G leadership. And she said internal competition is intense. There's no consensus to pick anyone. And on the other hand, the English papers, major cabinet reshuffle, but now is not the time to read the tea leaves. So there can be different views on the quality and the standards of journalism. And it is for that reason that I put my earlier question to the minister about a select committee and to try and get some understanding from the public what they expect of a taxpayer-funded CLG. I note the comment minister made about the surveys, but I think this is an opportunity to hear from the public, and I hope the government can consider this favorably.
I'm disappointed that the leader of the opposition has decided to make political capital out of something that I think is quite fundamentally important to us. And I think even in the examples that he cites, in a way, he has already illustrated the point that I'm making. He went back to 1997 to bring out an example, and then he says, just last year, the Chinese media put forward this year, Chinese media put one point of view, and the English media put another point of view. Isn't this the diversity that we want? Isn't it the diversity that the leader of the opposition has been talking about? So I am not very clear why he thinks the current model is not succeeding. Is it perfect? No. I would challenge him to show me a model that works and that is perfect. But is it one that works in our context? I think it does, with some areas for improvement, certainly. But it's an evolutionary process. And even in the examples that the leader cites, I think it's quite clear. And I would add that what we want, what we want at the end of the day is not posturing, but substance. So if we can achieve that, not just in the news media, but also in this chamber, I think we would have gone a long way to building a stronger country and nation. As for the funding, he asked for ballpark numbers, but that's precisely the problem, isn't it? I think we should be talking about these sorts of matters when we have greater clarity. Because to throw a ballpark number, and if I give you a range, then the question will be, oh, it's a very big range, can you narrow it down? And if I say, no, I can't, then we go back to square one. So the point is, I think we are doing the responsible thing here from the government's point of view. Not just to say that we support the restructuring, because we could have stopped there, but we went a step further to say that we would be prepared to fund that CLG. That is a significant point which should not be overlooked. And clearly, when the funding is finally decided upon, it will have to come back to this chamber because it will be part of the budget of the Ministry of Communication and Information, and the member and his party would have ample opportunity to ask all the specific questions. But I think let's not miss the wood for the trees. I think it's not about the details right now, it's about the overall thrust of what we are trying to do. Is it the right thing to do? Is our news media an important public good that we should be supporting? And if so, has it done a good job up to now in the models that we have used? And if yes, then let's work with that and build on it rather than talk about a complete wholesale overhaul.